Your information station, WTIM.
Welcome to the WTIM Morning Show. I'm Avery Cooper. Glad to have you along. Your stream brought to you by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark. I have the University of Illinois Extension Office in studio. That's nutrition and wellness educator Lisa Peterson. Great to have you here, Lisa.
Yes, thank you.
So the fair is in full swing right now.
Yep.
If you don't go to the fair, what's wrong with you? No, I'm kidding. If you don't go to the fair, I'm sure you'll go to some other sort of event that has all the food and vendors and stuff like that. And well, you know that's probably not the best for your waistline. But I'm sure there are things that you can eat at the fair that won't really impact that very much.
Right. So when we talk about the fair, of course, we're not always focused on our health goals when we're at the fair. But to be fair, funny enough, that as you walk around, like you're burning calories, you're exercising because you're walking the grounds of the fair. So keeping that. When we are at the fair, one thing to think about too is not arriving ravenous. So I know that seems funny because a lot of people go out to the fair to eat, and that's a big perk of the fair. But not arriving where you're extremely hungry will prevent you from overindulging. So even if you have just a small snack before you go out there, that'll prevent you from overeating at the fair and then having stomach issues maybe later in the day. So again, that's a very small thing, but that way you don't have to get there and be like, oh my gosh, I ate too much. Well, you could prevent that by eating just a little bit and making sure you're staying hydrated as well while you're out there. Yeah.
The water really helps you feel like you're full.
Yep. And we have to confuse thirst and hunger. So that's another big thing, especially in the summer heat, that make sure you are staying hydrated, have water with you, and keeping yourself moving. We joke that you should bring a pedometer when going to our local fair or the state fair, and you'll probably meet a lot of your step goals while you're out there, just because of all the moving and checking out. Even if you're out there just for the food, walk the entire grounds to check out all the food. So that's kind of a good way to start.
Yeah, that would be a good way. And the other thing you hinted at, you're doing a lot of walking while you're at the fair too, more than I think most realize.
Yeah. Yep, definitely more than people realize. And that's where the pedometer can really come in handy there. Additionally, too, is when we're staying hydrated out there, a lot of times focus on avoiding dizziness or nausea to prevent dehydration.
Yeah, talk a little bit more about the some of the benefits that can bring overall when you're walking around so much.
Yeah, so I mean, of course, those benefits of staying hydrated. But another thing when you're thinking about food is thinking about sharing is caring. We joke a lot about that, is making sure that if you want to have a funnel cake, that you split it. So half a funnel cake for family members, half for you as well, or mini donuts or cheese curds as well. So kind of going half and half with that can also help prevent you from overeating.
That's the big goal that we want here. We want to be able to have fun. We want to be able to enjoy the fair food. Forget about the goals a little bit.
Right. It's not forgetting, but it's making sure you're being a little bit more conscious of your choices. And again, if you come once a year for the funnel cake, don't be so hard on yourself about eating that. You're not eating it every day.
Right.
So it's not a common occurrence that happens.
Right.
So yeah, definitely. Another thing is keeping the meal colorful whenever you can, with the kebabs or having corn on the cob, thinking about what kind of vegetable options are there out there. Because there typically is one or two options out there that are a little bit lighter.
Right. Yeah. Not so fried in grease.
Yeah.
What are some other things that we should keep in mind while we're going to the fair and looking for something to eat?
Sure. I mean, beyond the food, again, we're out at the fair. We're in that hot heat. So really making sure you are putting on sunscreen. And I say that with every caution. So we tell you to put on sunscreen about 15 to 20 minutes before going out to the fairgrounds, reapplying every 2 hours. I've suggested to some people just put a timer on your phone. So then, because you're not paying attention to the time when you're out there enjoying the fair, but having that timer's around there, I got to reapply so I don't burn myself while I'm here and make it a miserable next day.
Yeah, definitely. And well, not only the sunburn too, but the long-term impacts of that UV exposure can be deadly at times, even long-term, that is.
Yep, definitely. So again, don't focus on the guilt of it all, of going out to eat at the fair. Think about, again, it's a once-a-year thing. If you are trying to be a little bit more cautious about your weight, consider splitting a funnel cake, splitting half your donuts out there, or focusing on what's grilled and baked out there. That's another good option, so it's not going to be deep fried. But of course, if your favorite, I'm originally from Minnesota, where we love our state fair, where if those deep fried Oreos are really that thing you crave every year, it's okay. You're having it once a year. You're not having it every day.
That's my thing. The
So-
deep fried Oreos is my
Yes,
thing. I don't know
yep.
about you, but
Yeah. They
I,
deep fry everything up there. So, yeah.
Twinkies.
Yep. A lot of
Uh,
different creative, and that's the fun part. Even at the local and state fair, you get all these different varieties of food to try.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and maybe you'll come away with a favorite. Obviously, go out, spend as much money as you'd like to on this
Yeah.
fair,
Mhm.
on all the food.
But yeah,
But, you
think about the positives too. Thinking I'm walking so much, I'm getting to be in the community, I'm supporting the community, and I'm seeing all my friends and family out there as well. So yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Mhm.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to hit on rather than with the Christian County Ag Fair?
Sure. So again, make sure you try not to go out there super duper hungry. So again, they'll prevent you from overeating. Stay hydrated. So lots of water, lots of beverage choices out there. Go for the grilled and baked options. Try to keep that meal colorful whenever possible. And don't forget your pedometer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
your pedometer especially.
Yeah.
I beg your pardon.
Mhm.
We were talking and then had a brief interruption. There was something else we were going to talk about. I've just completely forgot about it.
Yep. So a little bit here in this next section, we'll talk a little bit about when we road trip and ways to be a little bit lighter when we're traveling. So,
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay, so let's go ahead and take a quick break, regather
Yeah.
ourselves, and then we'll come back and talk about road tripping here on the WTIM Morning Show. I have nutrition and wellness educator Lisa Peterson in studio right now. Your stream brought to you by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark.
Your information station, WTIM. Your information station, WTIM.
Welcome back to the WTIM Morning Show. I'm Avery Cooper. Glad to have you along. Your stream brought to you by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark. I have nutrition and wellness educator Lisa Peterson with the University of Illinois Extension Office. Great to have you in here, Lisa.
Yes, thank you.
So I know right now you are getting ready to head up for a weekend excursion. You're going on a road trip, and I'm sure that means a lot of road trip snacks, right?
Yes, yep. So that's one thing I know a lot of Americans are doing right now over the summer is getting out with the family and traveling. A lot of people are driving. So one of the big things, and when we're trying to focus on our health goals, is they don't plan ahead. Like, I mean, you stop at gas stations. That's kind of the hard part is sometimes at gas stations, it's hard to find great options that are going to be good for your health, that aren't going to be just empty calories and make you hungry within 20 minutes of being back on the road. So a few things that I suggest to people who are looking at doing that from the nutrition standpoint is if you are craving something sweet and you're in that gas station looking around, look for the whole fruit options. And I see it more often now. I'm seeing a lot of places that'll have bananas out there, oranges, apples, or see if they have those prepackaged fruit cups, because again, they may have a little added sugar, but they have a lot less than say a candy bar or something along those lines. So, and of course, if you do want a candy bar or something like along the lines of being a little bit more sugary, a little bit more chocolatey, look for the portion-sized versions of them. So not going for the big bag while you're there, but going for the smaller ones or splitting it. Again, we talked about splitting your fare options too. Well, that's a great option for road tripping, is getting something and splitting it with your co-pilot or whoever's with you. So that's one option for the sweetness.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
What about maybe like candy bars that, I don't know, they are marketed to treat hunger per se?
Yes. Yep. So that's one thing. And we talk about that a lot with protein bars with people who buy those. And they're not a bad option always. The one thing I tell people to be very careful of when you're buying foods that have protein in them is no more than 20 grams in a serving. Mainly because too much protein is hard on your kidneys. So yes, that's a great option to find them that are usually that sweet spot is about 5 to 10 grams per serving. And that's where you want to be, because again, too high and you're really going to be, your kidneys are struggling there. Yes, you're getting to keep you full. But another thing is look at that label. See what is the first ingredient. So those ingredients are based on weight. So if your first ingredient on that bar is sugar, more than likely, if it's sugar than protein, it's mainly sugar. That's the first thing on there. So pay close attention to those labels. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder too how much, without saying the brand name, those that say, you're not you and you're hungry stuff.
Yep. It's the gimmicks.
Does it really help? Or is it just kind of a short-term solution?
Yep. And again, it's hard when you're trying to figure out what is a better option. Most of our snacks, and we tell us generally when people snack, is aim for somewhere between 150 to 200 calories and no more than 300 for a snack. Again, that's just a general recommendation. Ideally, if you can go higher than 5 grams of fiber, that's also a good thing. Because again, it's going to keep you fuller longer. It's going to keep you happier because your blood sugar is not going to drop really, really fast. So that's some things to think about. And those with heart disease, we're always trying to focus, and general population, is cutting on saturated fat. So if you can find something that has no trans fats in them or less than 5 grams of fat, that's also a great option. So popcorn, for example, is an excellent option that you find in a convenience store. Yes, it may have a little bit of salt in there, but it is a whole grain. So, and it's going to have more fiber in it as well and help keep you full. And it's a good one to snack on as you drive.
More than 5 grams of fiber, less than 20 grams of protein. Want to try and keep it less than 300 calories.
Yes. Yep.
Some pretty good guidelines.
Yeah. So, and again, the fewer the ingredients, the better. Fewer ingredients. So if you're looking at that label and you see there's 15, 20 ingredients, you maybe look for the ones that are a little less. Because again, those ingredients on the label are what it is mainly. It's what it's made out of. They're required to have that, and it's by weight. So I always joke, if you look at peanut butter, if the first thing on there is sugar and it's peanut butter, really the first ingredient should be peanuts.
Right. Or
right. Or oil or
other stuff that goes into peanut butter.
Yes. And that's sometimes hard to find. So whenever I do my grocery store tours, which I haven't done in many years, is we'll look at all of them and you find the ones that are a little bit lower in sugar and their first ingredient is peanuts. And they're out there, I promise.
Yeah. A little bit off the road of convenience stores, but peanut butter. Let's talk about peanut butter.
Yeah.
Some of them are a little bit more sugary than others. Some are a little bit less so. I prefer the stir-in peanut butter.
Oh, yep, the natural.
What do you recommend for a
Yeah.
healthy
And
peanut butter?
that's generally what I tell people is it may say natural on there, and the stir-in is a great option because if you look at the label, a lot of them, the first ingredient's peanuts. It's peanuts and oil. But again, when you're looking at them, look at the labels. That's really what I push people towards is making sure that you are aware of what you're picking, that some of the name brands may not be the greatest options for your health, and sometimes even some of the natural ones aren't. So pay close attention to those labels. And again, you may find that you found one that you like even more that might be just even a little better for your health. So,
yeah. And again, the labels.
Yes.
Look at that first ingredient. Seriously,
Yes.
the first. I hear the rule of 3 a lot sometimes. Read the first 3.
I can see
and
that.
if there's sugar in the first 3 or whatever it is,
and that can be sometimes hard. I mean, ideally, yes, to make sure sugar's down that list. But if it is the third ingredient and that's your only option, I mean, at least it's the third ingredient.
Right, not the first or the second.
Yes.
Yep. As far down the list as you can get it.
Yep. We're trying to cut down on our added sugar. Of course, the one thing that can get you is the natural sugars too. So the natural sugars are great for your body. We need them. When I teach youth classes, I'm like, that's your brain food. I'm like, you cannot go without carbohydrates. Your body is not going to like that. You're going to slow down a lot. You're going to be a lot more, you're moody a little bit more without carbohydrates because that's the beauty of it. But it's getting those natural not added sugars in there. So fruits and vegetables, great source of natural sugars. So so really focusing on that side of it, not cutting it out, but looking for the natural side.
Right. Yeah. And talking actually about added sugar, something I don't drink a ton of soda, but I am a soda drinker.
Yeah.
I've noticed that they've added the percentage of added sugar, your daily allowance of added sugar, and that. How new of that?
That is pretty new.
Yeah.
It's within the last probably 5-6 years that they've started, and they are going to require to have it on the labels now to say how much added sugar is in there.
Right.
Because even when I teach that to kids, I'm like, have we picked this off a tree? Do we know it's a natural? We know it's not a natural source, but it's making sure that the consumers are aware, making sure you know how much added sugar is in there, what you're putting in your body. They also give a percentage next to it, which is your percent daily value. And that's based on somebody who eats a 2,000 calorie diet. So if you don't eat that many, it's not going to be accurate. But it is if you're in a hurry, you need to look at labels. If it says 20%, we consider that high. If it's less than 5, we consider that low. So 20%, if it says 20% added sugar, probably not the best choice. But again, if you know you're only eating a fourth of that, you cut that by a fourth.
There you go. Right.
Yeah, pay attention to those serving sizes.
And just to clarify too, that percentage isn't necessarily the percentage of the added sugar that you need. It's your cap that you're looking for based on a 2,000 calorie diet.
It's based on a 2,000. It's for the percentage of that. Yeah, they suggest for 2,000. Really, we want you to get less than 6 teaspoons of sugar a day.
Right. And so that's your, like I said, allowance per se.
Added sugar.
Kind of like your fat allowance too.
And that's one thing when we're road tripping too, is focusing on water, on sweet tea, 100% juices, and less on the pop. Again, people love it. That's fine. Just don't make it your normal go-to. So I'm like, the minute I tell you can't have something is when you want it. So making sure it's part of your diet, just not a constant.
Right. Way to loop that back into the convenience store.
Yes.
It was all relevant.
Yeah.
I promise you. Anything else that you'd like to include about the convenience store road tripping, or maybe even reviewing the county and state fairs?
Sure. The one other thing with when you're at the convenience stores is checking the coolers. That's a lot of people don't look into it, but if you're looking for dairy, that's a great place to find low-fat string cheese, find Greek yogurt. Some of those other options you might overlook, but are great nutritional options in there. So, and a lot of times that's where you'll find the fruit cups too, is in that cooler. So definitely scope out the convenience stores next time you're in there. Don't immediately go for the sugary stuff, and see what other options there are.
All right. That is University of Illinois Extension nutrition and wellness educator Lisa Peterson. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Yeah, thank you.
Your stream brought to you by Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark and People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first. Find those streams online on the TaylorvilleDailyNews.com Facebook, or on YouTube at WTIM TV. You can also listen to WTIM anytime when you go to TaylorvilleDailyNews.com or download the WTIM app for iPhone or Android.
WTIM.